name's Isaac Lee. I'm a student mechanical engineering here at the University of Utah.
Hi everyone, my name is Parker Mason. I'm an undergrad biomedical engineer here at the University of Utah. About to start my master's degree in biomedical engineering.
I'm Riley Crahen. I'm a computer science student here at the University of Utah, finishing up my senior year right now in the School of Computing.
Hi, my name is Fabian. I'm a graduate student in electrical engineering here at the University of Utah. I graduated in 2004 with my undergraduate from BYU, and since then I've been working as a project manager and systems designer in renewable energy for the longest time. I originally grew up in northern Germany near the northern seashore, and people over here ask me all the time, what do you miss most about Germany? And my answer is always the same. The bread, the yogurt, and the fresh air. So it turns out 7 million people die every year from air pollution. And the World Health Organization estimates that 9 out of 10 people worldwide breathe air every day. According to IQ Air, Salt Lake City, Utah, had the second worst air quality worldwide in 2021, only after Krasnoyarsk, Russia, and worse than any other polluted place in the world. You could think of this. A couple listed there, Dubai, Santiago, Delhi. We were worse. It's unfortunately not gotten much better since then. You see here an article from 2023, Salt Lake heading into the worst conversion. And the article from the New York Times is a little bit older, but not much. And by the time the New York Times writes about bad air in Utah, you can figure that it's worse here than other places in the United States. Unfortunately, to an extent where people here, like it's one of the few places in the world where you can get lung cancer without smoking, like more and more Utahns are hearing. And I hear about it on the radio, people are writing in the newspapers. This is just one example. So this is a thing that keeps cropping up on us. Utah researchers estimate a 10% increase in mortality rate in Utah due to poor air and a host of other health consequences that affects hundreds of thousands of Utahns living here. It's actually cars and trucks that produce most of the smog that we have out there. It's not industry, although that's a significant factor too. But it actually turns out it's very hard to regulate that. It's very unpopular to make policy that restricts motor vehicle traffic. And part of it is, you've all lived here, most of you for a while, you know the Utahns love their big trucks and their cars, and they buy a lot of them. And the car industry, so those are billions of dollars, just Salt Lake County, right? So the car and truck industry, that's $3 billion per year just in Salt Lake County. This is a huge lobby, and it's really hard for politicians to push against that, against the people and against the lobby. Yet, we've talked to a number of city council members, and they keep telling us, well, that's what we get asked at our city council meetings, so, you know, what are you doing about the air pollution? And they also tell us, we don't have much to say. So I witnessed the council here just 6 months ago. It was mayors along the Wasatch Front, and the only answer that they gave to that question, which most certainly came up, was, oh yeah, everybody will buy an EV, an electric vehicle, and start driving that, and then all the pollution will go away. That is unfortunately simply not true, because to charge an EV, you need to boot up reserve power stations. We're already scratching the bottom here regularly. In high summer times, booting up old coal burning and oil burning power stations. So that is not a short-term solution. If that will contribute positive in the long run, I can hope so, but right now that's not the solution yet. That's all they've got for the moment.
So in the meantime, something needs to be done to solve this problem. So what we've done is we've developed an architecturally appealing air filter that will suck air into itself, clean the air, and then redistribute that air amongst the the atmosphere that people breathe. Just go to that next slide. So in this short video, okay, never mind.
We apologize.
So, our filters are architecturally appealing. They'll usually look like houses. They can be adjusted to match the architecture of the area they're in, whether they're placed in a community, around a university, in a business park, or wherever else the customer or municipality would like to place these air filters. They suck the air in through a filtration system and usually using centrifugal pumps, and then distribute that air through the roof or through other kind of ventilation systems to then distribute amongst the surrounding area to provide cleaner air for those residents in those areas.
Estimates by a private research firm estimate that the global air purification market will reach $16 billion next year in 2024. Now that's an estimate largely based on retail sales of consumer products. But it shows that there is an extensive interest for air quality. There are people who are concerned about air quality and doing what they can. Now these are often, these like retail air purifiers are often indoor designs in smaller scale. But again, the interest is still there. As Fabian mentioned, one of the first groups that we presented this idea to were local government officials in Utah County and surrounding areas, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. They're interested, they want to pursue this as likely the best solution that they've been presented with so far for air pollution for their constituents. We estimate, because of this, we're planning on marketing to our target groups are large cities, school districts, with budgets somewhere in excess of $100 million, that both have interest and can afford these devices. This slide shows, just in the United States, how many K-12 schools there are, cities, universities, which would all represent a portion of that possible market. This would all lead to a total addressable market in the range of $80 billion, with a service attainable market for us here along the Wasatch Front of $85 million. And we would start in areas where there are both these groups, but then also air quality is poor enough that it's regularly below World Health Organization recommended levels, which drives greater pressure and interest in clean air.
So of that obtainable market, we predict that we can get about a 5% market over the course of 5 years. And what that would look like is for us to install the unit, as well as for the initial purchase of the unit, we would be asking for a total of $50 million from around 11 units sold, assuming that we sell that many. On top of that, we'll have a yearly subscription model that allows us to service these units as well as maintain the upkeep of the grounds and other architectural elements of the units, giving us a total of around $53.5 million per year based on continual purchase of the units as well as the subscription-based annual service.
So how are we going to get market adoption? The main thing is that we're going to target the key decision makers. In this case, city officials are really the people that we want. We want people that have decision-making power and have the ability to purchase this product, but are not professional politicians. They'll be able to purchase it, but they're not in a bind with political reasons. We're also going to target school districts and business parks. Like Isaac said, these are entities that have the purchasing power to do it and also are interested in cleaner, fresher air. We're going to demonstrate its effectiveness using pilot programs. We plan to start off in the Wasatch Front, given the poor air quality, but expand after that. We plan to collect user testimonials from people that have had positive experiences with this, and then highlight our competitive advantages, which I'll go over in a second. We also are going to expand our operations and educate people on why they need this product. So we're going to target the poor air quality index cities like Salt Lake City, and then expand in the United States primarily. But the main cities that have poor air quality are actually outside of the United States, so we plan to do that within a couple of years. We're also going to advocate for supportive policies. And this is actually going to be smoother because of the relationship that we're trying to form with the city officials that have decision-making power. They will be able to support our policies that allow for these things to be done. And then obviously emphasize the long-term cost savings of this. So it's a one-time purchase, and then with a service fee, they have it for as long as they like. This is a product that can potentially last decades. So this is the director of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. He says, it's a hot topic now, the bad air quality in our state. Everyone understands how important of an issue it is. We have the momentum to be able to talk about the problems we're facing and answer with decision making. It's harder work, but we're confident that we can find the right solutions. We are the right solutions. So these are some examples of council members that we have formed relationships with. Fabian has worked with these people. And then this is just kind of an overview of the main things that set us apart from our competitors. If you'll notice those big X columns, those are for certifications. So the first one is the National Electric Code. This is basically, some states require this for permanent structures. And then the Underwriters Laboratories, this basically ensures safety and sustainability of our product, and we plan on obtaining both of these. And you'll notice here, this is for the throughput. Our throughput of 2 million cubic meters per hour is in a different ballpark than any of the other competitors. And there's only one other competitor that has a decibel output of as low as us, Steiner Group, but the other ones are significantly higher. And so, boiling this down, our product is more discreet, 45 decibels versus an average of 62 decibels for our competitors. We plan to seamlessly integrate with the surroundings. So we're going to work with whoever the entity is to build this structure in a way that doesn't obtrude or stand out. We're more sustainable. So we plan on implementing a carbon credit system that allows people to get a rebate for this carbon that they're pulling out of the air. And this is basically a credit that can be traded. It's not exactly money, but it can be converted to money. We also plan to install solar panels on these, which allows them to be more sustainable. But currently 60% of Utah's electricity is from renewable sources. Other sources are not as renewable, but this will be a net positive. And finally, it's more effective. So you saw in the previous slide, we have a 16 times higher throughput than our highest competitor.
My question is, when you're manufacturing this product, what is the sustainability like on the back end? Because if you reference the electric cars and the manufacturing of electric cars, it's obviously not good for the environment. What's the manufacturing like for this product behind the scenes?
Yeah, so we wouldn't have the similar issues as electric cars because we're not developing batteries for this. It will be powered from the grid. So a lot of those issues come from the procurement of materials for the batteries and creation of those batteries. So it'll be typical to another manufacturing process for a structure.
Okay, and you think that the I guess the throughput of the product would negate any type of negative output or carbon footprint from the manufacturing?
Yeah, our goal would be to be net negative with this. It wouldn't be worth it if it was.
So the main advantage comes from the unit actually being able to run off with independent energy sources. So it was surprisingly, when we started on this, that was our main focus, to run the fans off waste heat from factories, for example. But city council members didn't care about that at all. That wasn't their concern, you know? And so we've kind of marketing it a little different direction. So like the fan units, for example, will be off the shelf. So there's quite a competitive market, so one could try to buy from somebody who's got a greener footprint than someone else, but in the end we'd be stuck with whatever the production footprint there would be. However, once we run it different, if you drive your electric car, you need to charge it every night, right? You could charge it off the grid. That wouldn't be a problem here. So I think over time we would definitely have a net negative footprint. Like the day it's installed, certainly not. It will take a couple of years to recover.
Thank you.
Just had a clarifying question. I think you guys mentioned something about carbon credit, correct? So is it the case that you guys can also like reduce pollution and also reduce carbon in the environment also? Is that two separate things that you guys can do?
Yes, the unit can filter out carbon just fine. And so it's a certification process you need to go through, so you need to prove it. And there's different programs where you can collect carbon credits, and depending on which program, you get different money for it. But yes, the unit will be able to reduce carbon and qualify to some extent at least on carbon.
So you guys would be able to expand into the carbon capturing market also?
It's the plan. So again, there's not just one carbon capture market. There's a number of them, and so depending on who you get certified with, we would qualify for some, but not for others.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, awesome.
I just have a question. Is there a reason that you're not going after corporate entities? Because everything that I see, you do a great job at talking about how you're going to address the government, but I feel like if you don't address corporations, you're going to cap out at Utah because you won't have built connections into other markets with bad air quality. Is that the case, or are you planning to go after these corporate entities as well?
So when you say corporate entities, do you mean like large corporations or
Yes.
small business partners?
Large corporations where you can build these structures in multiple locations.
So part of our team, our main focus is community. We want to clean communities, we want to clean the air. And so that's why we've focused and chosen to start with small municipalities and the leaders of those municipalities.
So the service obtainable market contains a little over 100 companies that have more than 2,000 employees here in Utah. So we did consider those as customers, and they were reflected in the numbers. We maybe need to brush up the slides to make sure that goes in there. But they are totally target customers, maybe just not the very initial customers.
Two questions about the product. First off, I may have missed it. What's the size looking like? How big is this shed?
So not a shed.
So that's the thing, and that's how we can get such a high throughput with our thing, is with our device, is it can be adjusted to a business park, a university, a town, multiple throughout the city, and really be tailored to the specific locations it's at, to have a larger output with more pumps and more filters in it, or a small shed like you put in your backyard, or a whole house type of a building.
So it will be like the smallest unit really will be more like a starter home about, and will look like a starter home. And we had a simulation of it looking like that. We just didn't show it because we're not good enough at it to get the tech going here.
A follow-up question to that though. This is a lack of knowledge on my end. What is 50 decibels relative to? Can I put this in my backyard? Can I sell a portion of my backyard to the state to have them put one of these in there?
Yeah, so about like your air conditioning unit, your condenser outside. So about that size sound level. So yeah, it won't make any more noise than the AC unit that you have attached to the house already. Sure. Let's just go.
Well, I got two. The first one was, what was the ask? How much money were you wanting?
So we did not coordinate well yet, but our ask is we're asking for $5 million for a 20% share in the company to fund research and development and construction of one of these initial prototypes to start to work, especially with these interested city council members, so that they have a product that they can get behind.
Cool. And the other one was, what have you thought out like the downstream of your product? Like, what are you going to do with the saturated carbon filters? Because once they're saturated, you gotta find a way to dispose them. How do you pass it through?
There's some cool ideas out there. There's a competitor of ours, Studio Rosegard. They're a Dutch company. They actually back purchase the filters. They dump the carbon in the tray, they compress it, and make artwork out of it. And I thought
Really?
that is like just the ultimate thing to do.
Very interesting.
So making diamonds out of air pollution is how they advertise it. And I thought they're really onto something there. So we've looked intensively into back purging filters, so we'll make the filters last longer and extracting the smog actually from the filter. But eventually the filter will need dumped, and that's part of the negative footprint that you need to compensate for, right? At some point the filter just won't last anymore, it will get old, and so you need to recycle it somehow. Go ahead.
So, do you have numbers on how this would work with a traditional AC unit? Obviously, you work in tandem, so maybe your electric bill doubles with the that. But do you have numbers to back that up, or maybe how expensive your electric bill would be?
Yeah, we won't sell it to you. Like a single unit will cost like, so the cleaner, the filter unit will maybe somewhere be around $2.5 million. And then if you wanted to autonomously power it, you're looking at another $1.5 to $2 million. So combined fully autonomous units, $4.5 million. It will be the size of your house. You won't get a building permit for your backyard, and you won't be able to afford it as a normal citizen either. So this is like, imagine you're going through a neighborhood, just like house number 10 is actually not a house, although it looks like a house, it's actually a filter, and it will cost more than the houses left and right to it.
Right. So in places like California where electricity, they're already shutting off AC and sun and stuff because there's so many people using electricity. How would your unit contribute to electricity usage in the city?
Yeah, so we power, so there's a number of good ways to power it, and the way we build it, it will take variable power. That means you could extract power from places that couldn't easily feed into the grid. Take Orem, where I live, we have tons of canals, irrigation canals that run. It's actually fairly hard to harvest that for grid power, but it wouldn't be hard to harvest it for us. Orem City would build it next to one of those canals, and 8 months of the year, it would just feed right off that, and just not need a grid connection at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned you've talked to local city officials, and you're also looking to advocate for certain policies about air quality. How local are we talking?
The city and county level.
Okay, gotcha. Have you looked into talking to like anyone on the Utah state, like the congressman there, or the representatives or senators on the actual bill in DC?
We haven't talked, and we think they're not actually the ones interested as much. So the citizens are so the city council members are in reach of their citizens, very much so. They're very exposed. They're part-time politicians, although they decide over huge budgets, right? But so they get almost no money for the work they do, yet they spend hundreds of millions, right? If you have a city like Salt Lake with the $300 million budget, you have 5 people who work, as an assistant secretary at the U, and then they're a city council member, and they spend that kind of money. And they have citizens asking them about it all the time. Hey, what are you going to do about this problem here? It's a real problem. My aunt just died of lung cancer. I think that's a real problem. What are you going to do about it? And so that's the kind of question that they get, and that's the people we're talking to, and they are easily reachable too. If you saw on the slide, they just listed their photo, cell phone number, and I've called a number of them. If you dial the number, guess what? They pick up. It's right there. Then it's not some secretary. They can't afford a secretary, a city council member. They have to pick up the phone themselves, and they do, and they will talk to you. So the first one I talked to, he goes on the car ride. We talked for 20 minutes, and at the end, this is my city council member. My name goes, yeah, how about you come over next week sometime, and we'll sit in my living room and talk some more. And that's the kind of experience you have. If you're trying to get somebody working for a Utah Department of something, that seems painful, and how they decide about money and appropriate that all seems like a lot of work for not much.
Yeah, the reason why I asked those is because you have a lot of people on your side, especially if you're starting in Wasatch County. The congressman over that district is District 3. He has he's in charge of a whole conservative caucus. So you have some backing on your side you work with that.
Last question over there.
So, from what I'm gathering is it seems that there isn't a big return on investment for the schools or universities themselves, and so it seems like it's kind of relying on laws to be put in place where it's kind of a requirement. So I was wondering, is there any other incentives or return on investments you can offer the schools or colleges directly so they feel more comfortable with that price?
So as a school district, I would need some parent pressure, for example, to be concerned about their children playing in the back of the school because there are hazardous, smog levels out there. So I think that might do the job. The one thing that we maybe didn't do a good job presenting here is the cost. So you're looking at maybe $500,000 a year that you would pay to maintain a unit like that, including the installation and the ongoing maintenance. That's peanuts for a school district. Alpine School District, that's where my kids go to school, they have a yearly budget of somewhere around $800 million. Most cities are, like smaller cities, are a little over $100 million. That wasn't a concern. When we talk to people, and they do ask, what's it cost, you know? And they're like, yeah, you know, if you finance it over 20 years, you're looking at $500,000 a year. It's not a problem. It's your tax money, right? But like they're not so worried about it. So these are actually not huge amounts. So I think a school district that spends, let's say, $40 million in third-party testing at the end of the year just to see how they're doing, maybe isn't so concerned about buying a couple of those units on a financial basis. So a little bit of parent pressure, which one would have to organize, right? But that might do the job. Thank you, everybody.